Hello, and we're here again with Kerry on another episode of how to increase your happiness and effectiveness in your business as a result. Happiness first, I would say. Kerry, welcome and good to see you again.
Hello, thank you.
Let's do this. What are we going to talk about today?
Let's go. So we're continuing with the principles that are described in the book called The Happiness Advantage that is written by Shaun Achor. And he identified 7 key principles that you can apply in your life in order to increase your happiness levels. And when we are more happy, we maximize our potential. We give ourselves the competitive advantage in life and at work. So we've already talked about principle 1 in one of the previous videos.
So let's
talk about principle number 2 today.
Awesome. Okay, so let's just bring up that the summary of the first one.
I will. But first of all, what I want to know, Douwe, is have you been practicing the principles from number 1? And if you have, how have they impacted your life?
Okay, yes, I have actually. And one thing I did was I committed to for the weekend ongoing is to do 20 squats, do a little bit of exercise every day at the start of my day, basically. So it's 20 squats, 20 push squats, and 20-second hold on the squat. And yeah, I feel a lot different actually. And it's only, this takes less than a minute to do, or maybe a minute and a half or something. I like it because I do it to music and sort of inspirational quotes and stuff. And that came with a gym owner I work with in Auckland. And they did it for the whole month of April, and I decided to follow it, and it's really helping, yeah, a lot. And it's only a minute and a half. What
impact is it having on your happiness levels, though?
I find I do other things quick, like other things that are also good for me subsequently, like even doing the dishes at 7:30 in the morning, which is not something I normally do, you know, but I just have a tidy up. So a few things that I wouldn't normally do, I would just get into my daily routine rather than picking up on some other things. So it does have a noticeable effect. It's small, but it's noticeable. Yeah.
And so I think just doing one of those things.
That's right. And we've done it also on some of the people on the Be Bold course. They've also done some commitment levels, and they found out of 10, or they found at least 2-point percentage difference, 1 to 2 point percentage difference in terms of so there's 10 or 20% difference in terms of what they thought was their happiness level on the day. So this is significant stuff, guys. So I'm very excited for the second principle. If the first one made all that difference, what's the second thing going to do? So So let's just go over in summary what the effect is of putting happiness and injecting that purposely into your life first, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we are talking about the happiness advantage. So it's a play on words, the competitive advantage, right? So as we said in the last one, everyone seems to think that success leads to happiness, but actually happiness is the precursor to success. And when you apply these principles in life, you're going to be able to increase your overall happiness levels over time, which is going to maximize your potential. And the reason this happens is because when we are experiencing a happy emotion, when we're experiencing a positive emotion, this floods our brains with dopamine and serotonin, which improves our body and our brain function, because these chemicals actually help us to create more neural pathways in the brain. These neural pathways open for longer, which helps us to organize new information, hold it for longer, retrieve it faster, helps us to think quicker, makes us more creative, better at skilled complex analysis. We're better at problem solving. We're more engaged, motivated, energized, creative, innovative, and resilient. So that's what gives you the competitive advantage, the competitive edge. And in the last principle, which we will add a link in the comments below this post to the last recording that we did, in that last principles, I talked about in that last video, I talked about principle number 1, which was the happiness advantage. And my interpretation of that is, how do you deliberately inject happiness into your day? And it's around priming yourself. It's around doing those little day-to-day activities that will help and having positive interactions and the impact that will have. So you can check that out in the previous video. But today we are looking at principle number 2, which Shaun calls the Falcrun and the Lever. So those of you that aren't aware, I don't know if you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor move?
Yep.
Yeah, good. This is the fulcrum and this is the lever. The fulcrum being the pivot on which the lever rests. And this fulcrum here, playing your mindset, and this being the world. Okay.
Okay.
So my interpretation of what this means is believe you can do it and you will. It's as simple as that. So let's have a look at in more detail about what this principle means. So what we're talking about here is if you adjust your brain and the way that you see your world, then you're going to change all of the possibilities, the potential, and the power that you have. If we manage to move our mindset, then we move our reality. Move your mindset, it changes how you view the world. And as I say, if we move our mindset to become, or we shift our mindset to more up the positive scale, so we move that fulcrum, then we increase the amount of power, potential, and possibility that we see is present in the world, and therefore that we experience in our lives. Now, I want us to do a little exercise. So Douwe, play along with me. Everyone who is watching the recording, really do this exercise with me. I want you to play along, and I want you to close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you, get my time out. I'm going to ask you to sing the song, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. You know the song, right? Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. I want you to sing that continuously over and over again until I tell you to stop. And as you are singing, I just want you to observe your reactions. So we'll make a start in 3, 2, and 1. And stop. So you can open your eyes. So Douwe, how long do you think you were singing that for?
I guess 40 seconds, 50 seconds maybe.
Okay, 40 to 50 seconds. And did you observe any reactions whilst you were doing that exercise?
Yes, I thought, okay, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
How many times I started counting.
Yeah.
I thought of music. I like music. I love singing. So I was performing, and then I sort of started carrying away on the performance a little bit. Which was in my head. Okay, so then I thought, oh shit, we're on an interview here doing a test and we're going live shortly. So, you know, what's going on? I'm sitting here singing songs. Okay, so that was quite an interesting experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So we're talking about mindset, perception, where you place your mindset on this lever, of life, how you view the world.
Yeah.
So what this exercise does is it shows us where our mindset actually is right now. So those people who are more on the negative side, on the lower side, they're going to think, oh, I'm bored. Why are we doing this? How long am I going to have to do this for? You're actually going to stop singing and your mind is going to go somewhere else on a completely different thought trail. But you're just going to find it frustrating and annoying and an inconvenience to have to do that, right? And you're also going to think that you were singing the song for a lot longer than you actually were. Now, if you are more positive, you're like, oh, this is interesting. Why are we doing this? Oh, this is a nice song. I like this. And the time is going to go a lot quicker. So you said 40 to 50 seconds.
How long was it?
You were actually singing 30. It was 30 seconds.
Okay.
So for those, so that shows you where you are today. So for those of you that were doing this exercise that you're watching the recording, ask yourself, how long did I think it was that we were singing? Oh, where was my mindset as we were doing this? Did I find it boring, frustrating, annoying, or did I find it interesting, curious, and fun? So it's all about where we place our mindset as to how we experience the world. Reality is relative and belief is everything. So how you believe you are in the world, what you believe you are capable of doing how you show up is exactly how you are going to experience the world. That situation was exactly the same for everyone, but you thought it was 40 to 50 seconds. Someone else might have thought that it was 15 to 20 seconds. Two very different experiences. But it's all about the belief. And the belief is enough to change everything that we experience in our world. Believe you can do something, believe you will do something, and that is exactly what you will get. Believe you can't, believe you won't, and that is exactly what you will get. And what comes to mind when I think about this is the use of visualizations that sport coaches use, that life coaches use, that meditation teachers use. In the visualization, it's about you creating your future, creating the reality that you want to step into. Believe you can, and you absolutely will. And why? Why does this work, or how does this work? It's all about what happens again in the brain. So when we create this visualization, when we create this belief, what we're actually doing is we are igniting and we are firing certain neurons in the brain. And the brain then tells the body to do something. The body follows through on that expectation. And so the body will do what you've told it to do, whether it's actually a real situation or not. The body doesn't know. So the body's just reacting to the neurons that you're firing through this belief, through this visualization. Oh, didn't want to do that, sorry. I know, it's a good point. So where am I? So yeah, so we need to move this fulcrum. By shifting this fulcrum, this little pivot thing here, as I said, we shift our perceptions about ourselves, we shift our perceptions about the world, and we can shift our perceptions about other people. Now, successful people will actually show up with the mindset that makes them enjoy their work more, that makes them enjoy their life more. They will come with the mindset, if they choose, that will enable them to work more, to work longer, and to work harder. Now, I'm not suggesting that we all work more, longer, and harder, but when they want to, or when they can, if they come with that mindset, then they are able to. And also, they find that they get into flow a lot easier, a lot quicker, because they're no longer working a job. They're actually contributing towards a calling in life. And there's a big difference between jobs and callings. So it's all about the lens at which we look at life through. Reality is relative. And one of the stories that was told in this book that really struck out for me was about two workers that came out of an office on their tea break. They wanted to step outside because they were having a cigarette. Not that I condone smoking, but they're having a cigarette. And the sun was beating down. Yeah, it's a nice, hot, sunny day. One worker looks through the pain, the negativity, the stress, and the uncertainty lens. And they're like, oh my God, it's so hot. Why is it so hot today? The one break I have to come out here. I have to endure this heat. I'm sweating. This is really unpleasurable. I'm not enjoying this at all. Whereas the other worker steps outside and they look through the gratitude, the hope, the resilience, the optimism, and the meaning lens. And they're like, what a glorious day. I can feel the sun on my skin. I can feel the warmth of the sun. I can hear the birds singing. On my one break of the day, I get to experience the outside. I get to experience the gloriness of nature. Two very, very different perceptions of the exact same situation at that very same moment. So we have a choice. We can choose to look at it through the pain lens or the gratitude lens.
It's your choice.
It is your choice, absolutely.
Okay.
And we can't change reality. We cannot change reality. But what we can change is how we process it and how we react to it. We can choose which lens we look at life through. Mm-hmm. So how is this going to affect us in work? How do we shift ourselves in order to maximize that potential in ourselves and other people? How do we gain that competitive advantage? So again, this is my interpretation of how I believe you need to apply this principle in order to get that competitive advantage. So the first one that is described is the need to prime yourself and colleagues for success. And there are two ways in which we do this: expectancy theory and the Pygmalion effect. You are going to love these, though. I absolutely assure you of this.
Okay.
So the first way in which we prime ourselves is through the expectancy theory. Now, what this means is that our brains are organized to act on what we think that we think will happen, and that our beliefs are enough to change that reality. So I've already talked briefly about this, but let me share with you some examples, some studies that were conducted in order to prove that this actually happens. So the first study, it was around placebo hair regrowing tablets. Two groups. One were given...
I need some of that.
Yeah. One group were obviously not given anything and their hair didn't grow back. And then the other group were given a tablet that they were told would impact the regrowth rate of their hair. I mean, it wasn't. It was a placebo tablet. It was nothing. But they actually regrew their hair back.
Okay.
So it's the power of the belief. The next one is around poison ivy. Again, there were two groups. One group were rubbed with fake poison ivy. And they actually had a reaction because they were told that they were going to be rubbed with the real poison ivy, but it wasn't, it was fake. It wasn't real. And then the other group were rubbed with actual poison ivy, but they didn't have a reaction because they were told it was fake. So again, it's all about priming. Yeah.
Yep.
How the belief that you put in the mind. This is going to be one of your favorites, and we've talked about this before many times. And this is around maids in a hotel. Two groups. The first group was set off on their cleaning duties to go and clean the rooms, and they were not told anything. The other group was set off on their cleaning duties, but before they did, and they did this study over a period of 2 weeks, they were sent off to go and clean the rooms, but they were told, by you carrying out these activities and cleaning this amount of rooms for this period of time every day over the next 2 weeks, you are guaranteed to lose X amount of weight. Right? Yeah. So at the end of the 2-week period, the group that were not told anything, they didn't lose any weight. The group that were primed and were told that they would lose weight, not only did they lose weight over that 2-week period, but they also managed to lower their cholesterol levels as well, just through the pure belief that they were going to do that. What is that? What's firing up for you at the moment?
Well, I'm always interested in weight because, as you know, we tried to lose some over January, February, and so that worked. But there was also a mindset. Currently holding at just over 100 kg and happy at that. But I remember you telling me a story at the time of you can sit there, think about it, and lose weight as well. But it sort of amplifies this whole effect again, right?
Yeah.
It brings up a story with me, like some basketball players or something. One was thought about shooting hoops, another one was just lay on bed and think about it. The other ones were actually practicing it, and other people didn't do anything. And so the ones that actually were in bed, laying, thinking about it, and then had to do it after 8 weeks or something, we scored far better rates. And the only thing they'd done was think about it. Yeah. So
yeah,
these things totally, there's plenty of proof around proving this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've not read about this one, but I hear everyone talk about this one. There's the classic story of the young boy who grew up around these reptiles. I don't even know what reptile it was, but basically whenever these reptiles lost a limb, they regrew that limb. And he lived around these reptiles all of his life and didn't know anything else, right? Didn't know that there was limitation around regrowing limbs for anyone. And he actually lost his arm in an accident and started to regrow his arm, because to him,
he didn't know anything
not
else.
Being able, and not to be able to regrow limb wasn't a thing in his life. He just assumed you could, so he did actually start to regrow this limb.
Let's keep it as real. Let's keep it as real as possible.
That is real. It is real.
It is real, but you know, now we start to sort of go.
Yeah. And another one that I find really interesting is the study that they did with this group of Asian ladies. they were asked to complete a mathematical test, and one group were told, because you are female and females are notoriously worse at maths than males are, you are not going to perform very well at this test. And then they told another group, because you are Asian and Asians are notoriously mathematical geniuses, you are going to perform really, really well at this test. You're going to excel. Exactly the same maths test. And then the group that were told that because they were female, they're not going to perform very well, they got below average scores. And the group that were told that they would excel because they're Asian, they scored above average scores. So again, it's all about priming yourself. So believe in yourself and you can. And you know, this really does beg the question, what are the words that you're saying to yourself on a day-to-day basis? How are you talking to yourself? How are you talking about yourself? I mean, if I think of me, when I go into my Muay Thai training, it's like, oh, I can't kick. Oh, my right leg's worse than my left leg. And all the while I'm like, stop. I've got to change my mindset because I'm priming myself to have a bad right kick. I say that I can't kick and I won't.
Yeah, totally. We do a lot of that.
I'm sure there's a song about that.
Also,
Sorry,
okay. No, very good.
You do a lot of what?
We do a lot of that stuff really indirectly also in the Be Bold courses in terms of acknowledging and self-belief, and where we focus our mind to, you know, and how much time we spend in the red zone or the green zone and what we believe, what we don't believe. So I think this is all very complementary.
Yeah, I mean, there are many ways in which these principles are weaved into maybe what we're already doing, but to see it like this, you're like, brilliant, it confirms everything I am doing. Let's move on to the Pygmalion effect, because I know that you're going to love this one as well. So we're thinking about priming ourselves, but we're also thinking about priming our colleagues, our friends, our family. So what does Pygmalion effect mean? It means that when our belief in another person's, potential actually brings that potential to life. So what you literally think, you don't even have to say or act on, but what you think about another person is actually going to bring that potential out in them. Ooh, so this is a powerful one because you don't even have to act on this one. Just literally your beliefs and your thinking about them alone is enough. So what you say can actually drastically change the performance of somebody else. So you also need to be priming them in your beliefs and your words and your actions in order for them to have optimal performance. So again, this is in life and is in work. So if you believe that your colleagues or that your team or that your staff are turning up just for the paycheck, then that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to turn up to work, they're going to go through the motions, and they're going to turn up for the paycheck to be paid at the end of the month. Now, if you believe that they are contributing to the greater good, that they want to be part of that greater good, that they want to contribute to the calling, then that is how they are going to turn up at work. That is what they are going to do. It's how their performance is going to be. It's how their mindset is going to do. So you really have to ask yourself, what do you really believe about yourself and your team? Do you really believe that they want to be part of that success?
It starts a lot with these, I'm not sure I'm on the right track here, but it starts a lot with your own self-belief, doesn't it? And so you then portray that onto the world around you. A number of people I work with, they project that onto the staff, for example, they work with. If their self-belief is not high, then that belief gets transferred over, right? If their view of the world is not that positive, then that gets carried over. If you know, so this continues, they reflect back, right? Sometimes we try to skip it, we don't do our own stuff and then try to skip it and just make it everybody else should be doing this and this and this. That never works. So that's sort of the thoughts that come up with me when you're talking about that belief. Also, I suppose in terms of belief in other people, I personally, I can see a lot of potential in people, and that's probably why I do what I do, or that's why I do what I do, to try and get the potential out. Okay, it's not necessarily a given for the people that I meet on first instance that they have a strong self-belief, right? Or a strong view on their capabilities. So yeah, that Pygmalion effect, interesting.
Yeah, and you have to think about, okay, so how am I conveying my belief out into the world? What do I say? What do I do to actually show that belief outside of me? So we need to start changing that belief inside, and then start conveying the more positive outside into the world, because they are going to pick up on that resonance. They're going to pick up on that energy. You are igniting their neurons. And there's a reason why, and we'll get to that in one of the later principles, but your belief and your actions, the words you choose, that how you behave in front of them is igniting their neurons. And that's how then they will show up in the world. And, you know, we were talking about the Be Bold program, you know, and I, having seen the testimonials and having worked on creating those testimonials, everybody talked about the impact that you had on them, your belief in them, your continuous showing up for them, and how that contributed to their change, how that contributed in how they wanted to show up for themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's evidence of it right there.
It is really cool. You know, I always see it's a very nice thing for myself to be part of a lot of other people's journeys. And yeah, it feels very exciting always for me to be, you know, sailing somewhere that we can uncharted territory. It's really cool, you know.
Yeah, but just know that your genuine belief and seeing the potential in other people is changing the way that they show up in the world.
I get it.
And then the final thing is concentrate on, you're welcome. And the final thing is concentrate on the means and not the end. So it's about how you view your working day. It's about how you're going to show up and what you're going to get out of it. So we need to start thinking about how do we shift our perception. There are 3 categories of how people will view the work that they do. You're either going to have a job, you're going to have a career, or you're going to have a calling. Where do you put yourself, Douwe, in what you do?
I think definitely in the calling side.
Yeah.
Those 3 options.
Yeah. So imagine how you're going to show up in the world if you just go to work, to go through the motions, to get paid at the end of the month. There's no emotional investment. There's no loyalty. There's no alignment with values. That's going to make your working day really difficult, really hard. There's no alignment. There's no joy. There's no purpose there for you, you know? Whereas if you are contributing to your calling, if you're following your life's purpose, if you know why you show up every day, you know your why, then that is going to change everything. And that is hugely going to elevate your happiness levels.
I had a discussion with the client about it this week, and we shifted the perspective. And this is not a direct example, but she has some values that we identified, which she thought she could not apply in the current business. And then we had a bit of a brainstorming session around it. And next thing we can see the link. And next thing, of course, the motivation increases massively, right? Because now we can actually live to our values and be in alignment, right? And that's now I have no problem getting out of bed this morning. Okay, so this is it, right? I mean, this is just all these stuff that we talk about, Terry, all the time. You know, all these things are all line into the same direction. Okay, it's just now being able to pinpoint certain areas that you go, okay, now what's what? Where am I sitting? Okay, in terms of the Be Bold, you go ACA, awareness, where I am. Yeah, what's my choice? Okay, what action am I taking here? Okay, so if I don't feel like that I'm a sense of calling around what I'm doing, okay, let's find out what it is. Then let's increase that awareness, and then choose deliberately in terms of where we want to go, and then take some actions. Okay.
Yeah. And this is exactly why, you know, when you and I started to work together, I insisted that we sit down and we uncover the why, uncover the purpose, uncover the objectives before we go forward with any action. Because when you've clearly aligned what you want to do with your purpose, then the motivation is naturally there. It's
even in the Love Your Business concept. You know, if you don't love what you're doing, change it. Yeah, you choose.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
No, this is exactly what my point I was going to come on to next. So if you're not in a calling, if what you're doing is not aligned with your values, then there are easy exercises that you can do to, number one, either be able to look at what you're doing and then shift the fulcrum, shift the mindset so that you can see how what you do aligns with your values. Of course, you need to know what your values are. Or you identify your values and then you shift what you do. so that you walk into something that you are motivated to do.
Exactly. Yep.
You move away from what you are doing and you go towards that. You go towards your purpose. You go towards your calling. And this is where you and I come in, right? Because that's what we do best. Yeah, we support people, we guide people, we coach people to identify exactly what their values are, and we help them make that change either in the mindset or in the actual practical role, job, whatever it is, the business that they're doing.
Yeah.
Because not everyone will know their values and not everyone will know how to make that change.
Or feel empowered to. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Believe that it's possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then that comes back to this whole principle, believe you can do it and you will. But sometimes people need help with that. So this is it. You know, concentrate on the means to an end, shift from a job to a calling, find your why, match your values, boom, you're on your way to happiness. So that concludes principle number 2. So what is next for everyone? You can always take the happiness test to see where you are on that scale of happiness. But just know that on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, we are going to oscillate. That is natural. This is not to say that you're going to be happy 100% all the time. But what will happen is over time, your highest point of happiness and your lowest point of happiness, they're both naturally going to increase. So your lowest and your highest will be higher. Contact Douwe if you want more information about the Be Bold in Business program. Then definitely get in touch with him. When's your next one starting? I mean, don't say it actually, because this is irrelevant, because we don't know when people are going to watch this recording back. So
exactly.
Yeah.
We do basically start one every month, so people can just line up. No problem.
Yeah. And you're going to see all of these principles in action. You're going to experience them in action.
Yeah.
You can also contact me. If you want personal coaching, if you want to look at your life, if you want to look at your values, if you want to look at your why, if you want to increase your happiness levels, absolutely. I've got a YouTube channel with some meditations on. Meditation is a #1 key thing to help improve your day-to-day happiness. And watch out for more of these series in the Spotlight series, where we are going to talk more about the principles to increase your overall happiness. Anything that you would like to say?
That is all awesome again, and I'm looking forward to the next one already. So now we know what the fulcrum is, and we get the idea of shifting beliefs, and that it's only just a matter of how you perceive your reality. So that gives a different idea about, you know, how you filter life and how you look at life. That will give me a lot more sense of control. Figuring all these things out, guys. Just be in touch, and I look forward to seeing you another time. Thank you, Kerry.
You're so welcome. Thank you very much. And I'll speak to you all very, very soon.